The shadow world is the most dangerous catastrophe humanity has ever faced. When it appears, the earth and sky are covered by a black mist that continuously drains the life from living beings. To save humanity, the only way is to conquer the shadow world before it spreads to the entire human world. The perpetrator of the shadow disaster is a giant dragon named Boromir. Many warriors have fallen when entering the shadows to challenge this dragon on the battlefield. Currently, only the main character, Darius, along with his 5 teammates, remain. They are all determined to destroy Boromir to end the hellish world he has created. As Boromir prepared to attack, Raphael raised his shield to defend. However, the dragon's attack was successfully thwarted by Darius. Boromir did not give up and continued to gather energy to launch a stronger attack. Yet, the magical power in Darius' hands once again managed to seal his magic. Darius shouted that he had analyzed Boromir's magic configuration so the dragon could no longer use magic. The entire team then ran towards the dragon with Raphael in the front line, holding off its attack. The other team members took turns attacking Boromir, leaving the dragon to just stand and take the blows. The mage behind them channeled all his magical power to enhance the strength of the swordsman. Azes then launched such a powerful sword strike that the earth and sky trembled. After receiving this attack, the dragon finally collapsed. The sky cleared up again, and Darius thought that this hell was finally over. With Boromir's death, it wouldn't be long before the entire team returned to the real world. They sat together, reminiscing about what they had just experienced. Initially, 1 million people came here to challenge Boromir, but in the end, only the 6-member team survived. Darius' companions, who had previously fought alongside him, had fallen on the battlefield, leaving him very sad. In this battle, Raphael acknowledged that Darius had made the greatest contribution. The other team members also admitted that without Darius, they wouldn't know when they could have destroyed the dragon. A mage named Joe asked why Darius' magic was so strong, yet he was not famous. Darius replied that he was just an ordinary person, so no one paid attention to him. After chatting, the entire team began to share their plans when they returned to the real world. However, the somewhat aloof swordsman Azes didn't want to share anything with them. Meanwhile, Doris remembered his good friend, Romantica, who had fallen in a previous battle. Darius' mind was still very sad, so he said he had no plans yet. Suddenly, Boromir moved, causing everyone to panic and not believe their eyes. They had seen the dragon fall and die before, but now the magical power had returned to its body. Joe said that he had read an ancient document that mentioned a dragon's heart, besides its blood, also held a massive amount of magical power. When the dragon dies, its blood will disappear, but the magical power remains and now it will be released, causing the dragon's body to explode. Joe suggested that perhaps this was the first time in human history that a dragon had been successfully killed, so no one could predict this would happen. At this moment, the accumulated magical power was so great that Joe felt he couldn't contain it. Darius tried to use reversal magic to seal the explosion but failed because this was pure magical power that, once released, could not be stopped. Joe reminded everyone to prepare themselves, and the entire team could only pray while holding on desperately. However, Darius could not accept such a sad ending, so he tried his best to save his comrades. Miraculously, Darius managed to turn back time and return to the past. When he opened his eyes, Darius found himself standing in a very unfamiliar place, and when he looked in the mirror, he saw that he had become much younger. He didn't understand where he was or what was happening. Suddenly, Darius heard a lot of applause nearby. On stage, a professor named Briss Jess was preparing to speak at the entrance ceremony at Heaven Academy, and the students were watching Briss Jess. When someone is too beautiful, it is inevitable to be impressed. Darius felt that this scene was very familiar to him, as if every word from the professor was clearly remembered. Nothing was missed. He said that all students must take the entrance exam, and only those selected for the competition content would complete the shadow world. Seeing the confused students, Bridget explained that the shadow world he mentioned was not reality. It was just something created to serve the exam, so the seniors here would support the new students. Darius couldn't believe this was happening to him. This was the opening moment of the academic year at Heaven Academy, the same year when the battle with the dragon god Boromir took place the previous year, and for the next 5 years, Darius and his comrades continued to fight Boromir in the shadow world. As a result, his entire team sacrificed themselves, and no one survived. Now, back in the past, Darius felt deeply that the struggles he experienced no longer had any meaning. He sat pensively in front of the hall door, knowing this was not a dream because all the scenes of the academy were still etched in his memory. At that moment, a girl named Dorich came to Darius. After searching diligently, Darius remembered that she was a second-year student and was the one who would help him. Besides, she was a genius magician with the fire attribute and the strongest in the academy. Seeing Darius worried about the shadow world, she comforted him, saying there was no need to worry because the exam's purpose was only to test whether he could fight or not. Then, Dorich was surprised to learn that Doris was just a commoner who could only study in the beta class. According to Doris, this academy had heavy discrimination. Nobles would study in the alpha class, while commoners were only allowed to study in the beta class. No matter how talented they were, they would never be taught properly. Therefore, many magical talents were buried in this academy. Dorich used her card to bring Doris into the hall. Perhaps because Doris was too familiar with the scene here, he showed no reaction. Seeing Doris not surprised, Dorich wondered, and Doris only joked that he had seen such a building before. As they left the hall, they met a noble named Iohi. Doris remembered that Iohi was a magician with the water attribute, and it seemed Dorich had issues with. Dorich also admitted to Doris that she hated Iohi, so every time they met, they always mocked each other. When Iohi realized that Doris was just a commoner, she laughed loudly because she thought Dorich only deserved to support commoners like Doris. Therefore, she no longer considered Dorich a worthy opponent. To Doris, she suggested not taking the exam because if he only entered the beta class, it would be useless. Hearing her words, Dorich was very angry but couldn't do anything. Just then, the academy's loudspeaker announced that the entrance exam would start soon, so Dorich reminded Doris that he must pass and was not allowed to fail this exam. Doris's experiences all this time proved to him that this was truly the world of the past, so who knows, he might meet the most important person to him. Looking around, Doris didn't see her anywhere, but just then, Romantica appeared behind him, making him very happy because in the future battle, Romantica died in his arms, so now, back in the past, Doris was determined to fix the world. If he could see that Romantica was fine, Desire couldn't hide his joy. He wondered if the two had ever met before, so Desire rushed to the bulletin board and told her that they would be taking the exam together. Seeing that, Romantica hoped that the two would fight together, and if Desire did, he would strive to change the past because losing Romantica made him so desperate. Dorich informed Desire that she would be in Team D, and the exam's content was to complete an ancient shadow world. At the same time, Desire was reminded not to worry because this was just a shadow created for the exam. Inside it, there was a security system, so whenever someone died, they would immediately be expelled. He came and told Desire that participants were allowed to attack each other, so he would find any way to ensure Desire did not pass this exam. Then he introduced the person in charge, a female sword fighter named Azes, to Desire. He understood Azes' strength more than anyone. She was a swordswoman with ice attributes and many powerful spells. Moreover, she also mastered supreme martial arts and was one of Desire's most reliable friends. Seeing Desire continually paying attention to Azes, even Dorich was speechless, especially when Dorich was also attacked by Iohi, making her even more annoyed. Although the swordswoman was very strong, Dorich did not let Desire give up, and when the sudden announcement that the exam started arrived, Desire left her to focus. At this moment, all the participants had gathered at the gate with very excited faces, and then they all entered the shadow world, which was a vast open field. According to the system's notification, only 3 students would pass, and everyone was allowed to use magic to hinder their opponents. In the case of taking too much damage resulting in death, they would be disqualified from the exam. After the rules were explained, the system reminded the participants to get ready, and when the command to start was given, Azes immediately launched forward at high speed, while Desire and Romantica were somewhat delayed. However, Desire was also distracted by some cute creatures, so he did not focus on the exam. Romantica realized that Desire always liked pretty things like that, making her think that Desire was trying to tease her, not compete anymore. When Desire continued to smile kindly, Romantica scolded him to stop. At the right moment, Desire realized an attack was approaching, so he pushed Romantica aside to avoid a fire magic attack from an enemy. Meanwhile, another opponent threatened to blow them both away. When they saw the opponent using fire magic, Romantica countered with wind magic. It seemed like the two magics cancelled each other out, but suddenly Romantica launched another wind attack that immediately eliminated the opponent. On Azes' side, she also received information that there were only 5 participants left on the map, and Romantica quickly thanked Desire for helping her earlier. However, Desire's continuous smiling attitude made her annoyed, feeling that they had fallen far behind the top 3. Romantica wanted to show her strength to Desire with very powerful wind magic, and at this time the Academy Council was monitoring the participants through screens, realizing that this year's participants were very talented. They considered Desire a poor person for having to be in the same group as Azes, except for Professor Bryjet, who was looking forward to his performance. Currently, AES was leading the race, and her competitor, Azes, thought that at this speed she would also finish after her. However, at that moment, Romantica's wind appeared, trapping her in place without being able to move. Azes used her sword to cut through the wind, blocking her path, while a young man behind her tried to catch up. However, Romantica's wind brought a tree branch flying straight to the young man's face, and after Romantica's magical attack, the 2 young men were disqualified, leaving only 3 people on the map. With such several participants, Romantica did not need to fight anymore and immediately passed the exam. But because of Desire's unpleasant attitude, Romantica decided to eliminate him from this exam, feeling that the reason was a bit excessive. Romantica did not want to let Desire go just like that. She still showed her skills before attacking Desire, giving him a chance to surrender. However, Desire only smiled and refused her request. This made Romantica angry, and she displayed many of her magic circles and then attacked Desire simultaneously. She thought Desire would be destroyed after this attack, so she felt happy, but Desire remained calm, surprising her. In fact, Desire showed the strengths and weaknesses of her previous techniques, making Romantica even more frustrated. Finally, Romantica used a new magic to attack Desire again, but this time Desire used reverse magic to deflect the attack and destroy her magic. Romantica realized that reverse magic had to be at a much higher level than the opponents to be used, while Desire always managed to destroy Romantica's attacks with the lowest level. Now, Romantica realized that Desire was stronger than her. Desire then decided to end the fight with Romantica to look for aces. After hearing that, Romantica used all her strength, summoning many magic circles to attack Desire, but Desire continued to calculate perfectly, stopping all of Romantica's attacks. Desire thought he did it to help Romantica become stronger, otherwise they would face destruction in the future. Then Desire destroyed all of Romantica's magic circles, surprising her greatly when she saw Desire using magic to reduce friction on his body, saying that from the beginning, he didn't see Romantica as an enemy because this was just a race to the finish line, not a magic battle. Furthermore, if they took damage here, they would only be disqualified, not killed. Desire then released a fireball spell behind him, making Romantica think he was crazy, but then the fireball hit Desire forward, pushing Romantica away and making her admire Desire's courage. At the same time, Aces was heading towards the finish line and Desire was also gliding there. When Romantica realized that Desire had defeated her, she gained a different view of Desire's strength, so at that moment, Aces decided to fight Desire with all her might. She unleashed many ice magic circles, but Desire used reverse direction magic and sealed half of them before the magic could fully activate, allowing Aces to attack Desire and causing the magic to deviate from its path. After choosing his attack, Desire avoided fatal injuries, even taking control of Aces' ice magic and reversing the attack. There was no other choice for Aces but to combine all her magic circles and unleash the final magic to end Desire. However, Desire changed its trajectory, attacking from behind, using the explosion as a boost towards Aces. Although Desire was the winner of Team D, he was not satisfied because his main task was to make Aces and Romantica stronger so they could overcome future tragedies. The winner of Group F was a young man named Donut. When he saw Team Desire, he was planning something evil. After the exam results came out, the Academy Council would classify students into the Alpha class, which was only for nobles and high-level magic users. They wouldn't include commoners in this class, but the headmaster wanted to suggest a special student to enter the Alpha class. Professor Briss suggested Desire's name as a deserving candidate for the Alpha class. When the students saw the class list posted at the academy, those who made it into the Alpha class were very happy. Romantica couldn't believe she only made it into the Beta class. She felt that class was only for commoners with poor facilities. The class had existed for a long time and still provided ordinary lessons to students. The class also had an arrogant and disdainful mentor who considered them lowly. Romantica was very upset about having to study in the Beta class. For her, it was very annoying. Moreover, she had to sit next to someone she didn't like, namely Desire. She also wondered why she, who should have ranked first, had to be in the Beta class. The young man just smiled, making Romantica even more annoyed. She knew very well that, no matter how clever someone was, they could only study in the Beta class. Even Professor Briss, who had known Desire since he lived in the orphanage, couldn't help him because the noble teachers were very opposed. Upon hearing Romantica's suggestion to join Desire, she realized that in this school, there was a divide between commoners and nobles. However, Desire didn't mind because the Beta class still had many talented students who could prevent a dark future. Romantica could only sleep during break time because she didn't want to talk to anyone. At that moment, a young man named Donut came to introduce himself. He mentioned that he studied in the Alpha class and had just joined the #1 team in school called Blue Moon. He came to recruit someone with extraordinary talent like Romantica to join his team. Upon hearing Donut's offer, Romantica felt somewhat hopeful. However, Donut laid down a condition that if Romantica joined his team, she had to date him. This surprised Romantica because she had just met Donut, yet Donut claimed to have fallen in love with her at first sight. Additionally, as a noblewoman, Romantica felt she couldn't accept the fact that she had to study in the dirty Beta class. She felt unable to accept this sudden demand. Romantica asked for time to think it over. Donut accepted her request and gave her a memento from his homeland. He said that the object was only given to those who have feelings, and he had given it to Romantica. After Donut left, Desire came to congratulate Romantica. Desire also found Romantica intriguing due to her funny reactions. Desire also had a similar request to Donut's, inviting Romantica to join his team. Of course, Romantica refused, as Donut had promised to bring Romantica into the #1 team in his school. Desire felt that Romantica's decision was a very dangerous mistake. He left a letter and asked Romantica to read it in a secluded place. After Desire left, Romantica read the letter and was surprised because Desire knew so many secrets about her. Meanwhile, Desire searched for an old friend named Pram. According to Desire, Pram was the fastest knight in school and would surely become even stronger in the future. At the same time, Romantica went to find Desire, but she was captivated by a cute creature named Pram. She even wanted to take Pram home as a pet. Meanwhile, Pram prepared for practice with a large sword against a nobleman in the Alpha class. When the fight began, Pram kept attacking and making his opponent retreat. However, Pram's strength began to weaken and he quickly ran out of breath. Desire didn't understand why Pram chose such a large sword as it required a lot of energy. Now, the nobleman attacked Pram aggressively, putting him under pressure. When Pram lifted the sword, his speed wasn't fast enough so he managed to dodge, but Pram's sword had been thrown and made him lose. Although the nobleman won the fight, he still felt bitter because Pram felt hurt due to Desire's earlier attack. So, he approached Desire and began hitting his face repeatedly. Angry at seeing this, Desire ran closer to stop him and insulted him as a coward who was only jealous of others' talents. Hearing this, he became even more frustrated and grabbed a wooden sword to attack Desire, but Desire managed to hold it with one hand, breaking the sword in two. Seeing Desire's sharp gaze, he didn't dare to fight back and eventually left in despair. After that, Pram bandaged Desire's wounds and felt very regretful because Desire had now become an alpha enemy. However, Desire comforted him that it was Pram's own mistake, so there was no need to worry. At that moment, Pram introduced himself to Desire and Romantica, then thanked Desire and promised to always help him if Desire needed assistance. Meanwhile, Romantica was so busy watching Pram that she forgot she also had something she wanted to convey to Desire. When they had time together, Desire said that he knew Romantica's origins as just a commoner, but her parents had spent a lot of money to buy a noble title for Romantica. Perhaps the teachers at the academy knew about this, so Romantica was demoted to the beta class. Desire suggested that Romantica should not accept Pram's offer because he only regarded commoners as trash, and Desire's goal was to invite Romantica to his team. Initially, Romantica refused because she thought Desire was just using this to force her to join, but when she heard that Pram and Desire would form a team together, she regretted refusing before. Furthermore, Romantica felt Desire was a suspicious figure. He not only knew a lot about her family but also possessed strong power. When there was an entrance exam, Romantica finally accepted Desire's offer to join his team, and she promised to reveal Desire's past secrets. Pram was given a precious sword by his mother. He said that as long as the sword shone, it meant his father still loved them both. However, the sword then broke in Pram's hand, making him very anxious. This nightmare made him scream and wake up, and that morning, Desire came with two of his friends to meet Professor Bridget to form a team. When they met, Desire said they came to form a team. The professor happily invited them to have cake and tea. When Pram still felt unsure, Desire encouraged him, and upon seeing Pram eat the cake, Romantica couldn't help but smile at Pram's innocence. The professor then asked Desire why he wanted to form a team, and Desire replied that he wanted to win the competition to move up to the Alpha class. Although Desire knew it was difficult, he still tried hard. When Pram asked, the professor explained that the competition would be held after the selection to determine the students' rankings. The form of the competition was a battle between teams from the Alpha and Beta classes, and the winning team would move up in rank. However, what the professor said was just the initial stage to assess the students' abilities, and the winning team in the initial stage would participate in the official competition held in the Illusion world. There, the top 9 ranked individuals would earn a special title called Single Ranker. With this title, they would move from the Beta class to the Alpha class. However, according to the professor, no Beta class student had yet been able to rank up, and even Romantica thought that the abilities of the Alpha and Beta classes were too different from the start, making this competition very difficult. However, Desire remained very confident and encouraged everyone to do their best because if 3 people won the battle, the teachers at this academy would no longer underestimate the Beta class. After hearing that, the professor felt somewhat disappointed because she was also a teacher at the academy. But she believed that if Desire's team were to win the battle, the situation would change. This bad situation would change, and the condition for Desire to form a team was the agreement of all members. So the professor asked once again whether Romantica and Pram wanted to join Desire's team or not. Then, Desire took his 2 companions to visit the training facilities of the Alpha class, which were always well maintained. Even in the best condition, Desire's team could only use one dark room that had not been cleaned for a long time and was empty here, which made Romantica also silent. Even a family of mice had made a nest in the room, making 2 members of Desire's team scared. Pram immediately fainted while Romantica had to cling to Desire because she was very afraid of the mice. Although Romantica didn't want to be here at all, Desire said that this room was prepared by the professor, so whatever happened, everyone had to clean the room for training. Shortly after Pram woke up, he saw that the room was already clean, so Pram felt a little guilty towards Desire because he was injured but still had to clean the room. Meanwhile, after fighting with the mice, Romantica wanted to return to her room to take a shower, but Desire suggested that she immediately practice because her goal was to move up to the Alpha class. While in the professor's room, Romantica still hesitated with the question of whether to join Desire's team or not, and when teased by Desire, she was very annoyed but finally agreed. Even Pram also wanted to join Desire, so he immediately agreed to join the team. So the professor approved Desire to form his team. Now that she had become a team member, Romantica had to listen to the captain's orders, and Desire took her to the room to practice with Pram. First, Desire wanted Romantica to improve her magic accuracy, and he was very confident in showing her many magic circles to the place designated by Desire. Although Romantica successfully hit her target accurately, Desire wanted her to shoot right into the center of the target, and after hearing that, Romantica was very surprised because no one could do it. However, Desire knew that in the future, Romantica would become a very skilled witch, all of her magic very accurate and never missing the target. So, to boost her spirits, Desire provoked her by saying that it would be better to go clean the house than to listen. After hearing this, Romantica was very angry and couldn't accept it, so she had to follow Desire's next exercise. This time, Romantica's task was to use magical powers to put a ball into the circle in front of Desire. Knowing Romantica's proficiency in wind magic, this exercise was aimed at enhancing her skills. With Desire's guidance, Romantica displayed a gentle wind to slowly lift the ball, although it only flew high and fell right into place. Desire was very satisfied because he understood the essence, and Romantica was very happy because this was the first time she received praise from Desire other than from training. Besides Romantica's training, Desire also wanted to improve Pram's sword skills, but Desire didn't know what to teach because he already was an outstanding swordsman. According to Desire's memory from the future, Pram had mastered the battlefield with a very thin and light sword called the rapier and sharp sword cuts. Desire couldn't forget it, so he wondered why Pram chose a big sword to practice with someone. In the Alpha class, Pram was supposed to choose a light weapon to demonstrate agility. At first, Pram hesitated to reveal the reason, but Desire said it was related to team strength, so Pram invited Desire out to go to his room, ignoring Romantica who was training. When they opened the door to his room, Pram immediately took the rapier sword and said that it was a legacy from his father, as Pram said. You've never met your father because he's a nobleman while your mother is just a commoner. Thanks to the sword left by your father, you're determined to become a knight, hoping that one day when you meet him, you'll use this sword well. However, your mother warned you never to meet your father because he lives in a very different world from both of you. Your mother also fell seriously ill and passed away afterward, but she never told you your father's name. Desire understood that having a child with a commoner would damage the reputation of a noble family, so if Pram went to meet his father, he might not be there anymore. Pram continued by saying that his goal in coming to this academy was to investigate the origin of his father, and he had also taken this rapier sword for further examination. However, the results showed that it was just an ordinary sword unworthy of a nobleman. Pram felt his father was very bad, so he got angry and threw the sword away, deciding that he would never touch it again. The next day, Pram only practiced with an ordinary sword, while Romantica was very skilled with the given exercise. Suddenly, Desire realized something that made him approach Romantica, making her embarrassed because Desire remembered that he had previously given her something from a noble family. Desire then went to Pram, saying that he wanted to check his sword to confirm something. However, Pram apologized to Desire because he had sold the sword yesterday. They both went to where Pram sold the sword, which was a very familiar place for Desire, as before reversing time, he often went there to shop. The place where Pram sold the sword was in a small alley. Although Desire wanted to get the sword back, Pram said he didn't need it anymore. After checking the store's regulations, they went inside, and when they opened the door, they met a tall, muscular man. Desire felt this place was very suspicious, so he had to be careful. Not only that, but the shop owner also didn't seem very nice. Desire got straight to the point that he wanted to buy back the rapier sword sold by Pram. The shop owner said that the store's policy was not to accept refunds. However, Desire still wanted to buy it, no matter how high the price. After hearing this, the shop owner brought Pram's rapier to the table and said that this was just an ordinary item, not a sword. Desire realized that there was a noble motif on the sword that he recognized from Romantica before. The shop owner could no longer hide that this sword was a gift often given by nobles to their lovers. Unfortunately, he didn't know how to draw the sword, and upon learning that Desire wanted to buy it back, he doubled the price from before, even though he bought it for half the price. Pram felt very disappointed hearing this, but it was business, so he had to accept it. Desire didn't hesitate to pay twice the amount to the shop owner to get back the sword for Pram, and when the transaction was done, Desire successfully retrieved it. The shop owner still believed that Desire wouldn't be able to pull out the sword from its sheath. However, Desire used his magic and read the hidden lines of characters engraved inside the sword. Then, Desire handed the sword to Pram and taught the boy how to open the rapier by pressing firmly on the groove in the middle of the sword handle. Pram managed to draw out the rapier, and upon seeing the gleaming metal, he couldn't believe his eyes. According to Desire, this was premium metal, lighter than a feather but harder than steel, fitting for a rapier wielder relying on speed like Pram. The shop owner saw this as something very valuable, and he couldn't stay silent, so he ordered his henchmen to block them. He said that if Desire agreed to leave the sword, he would let them go. Of course, Desire didn't care because he had already paid the right price. The shop owner was very angry and immediately ordered his henchmen to attack Desire. However, he managed to dodge the attacks with agility. Meanwhile, Pram was ready to fight the big, strong man. Desire reminded again that Pram should not use this rapier again, making the boy feel very embarrassed, but of course, Desire still wanted to see Pram showcase his sword skills with his natural speed. Pram managed to smoothly evade the first attack, but Desire was still worried for him because if he got hit by one blow from his opponent, it could be fatal. He was surprised to see that Pram suddenly strengthened his body to increase his attack speed. Seeing that, Desire smiled madly and then attacked with the sword, but Pram quickly avoided it while scratching some sword blows on his body. However, Desire's attack only slightly disturbed his opponent. Desire saw that in this situation, the longer Pram fought, the more disadvantageous it became for him, so the only way Pram could win was by hitting the weak points in his opponent's body. However, Pram's trick was already read by his opponent, so he got a hard kick in the stomach. When Pram struggled, Desire immediately reminded the boy to trust his father, and Pram also read the lines of text engraved on the sword. He was very surprised that Desire knew the secret of the rapier, but now Pram didn't care about it, he had to strive to bring victory home. As Pram lunged towards him, the man raised his sword to cleave him in two, but the boy knew it was just a trick, so he managed to avoid it carefully. Turning behind his back, this man also was able to guess Pram's intentions, so he had prepared an attack ready to be directed towards him. However, Pram quickly attacked with his Zendai sword to break it in two, then knocked him down with the tip of his sword because the previous situation was very dangerous. Desire had to quickly ask Pram, and Pram said that thanks to this sword, he could defeat the man. The shop owner still laughed loudly, thinking no one could open the outer door under his subordinate. However, Pram had already cut that door with his sword. As they went home together to celebrate Pram's effort, Desire invited the boy to eat grilled meat, and Pram was deeply moved by Desire's kindness towards him. After all they had been through, Pram seemed to lose direction in his life, so when he got a good teammate like Desire, Pram felt very happy. Meanwhile, Pram secretly sent his thanks to his parents and hoped they would follow his life journey. Meanwhile, Romantica still diligently practiced with Desire's guidance, and after several failures, she managed to direct the ball to the target. Unfortunately, Desire wasn't there, so Romantica could showcase her achievement because of Desire's training. Now Romantica could demonstrate her wind magic very accurately, and when there was no friend around, she celebrated her progress on her own. Afterward, Romantica went to the Noble District to meet with Donnet, and they both went to a luxurious restaurant inside the academy. Donnet still seemed to consider this as a date, so he had prepared this dinner to invite her, and Romantica didn't hesitate to enjoy the delicious dishes as she was served by others. But after being full, Romantica returned Donnet's souvenir from the previous day, leaving Donnet very confused. Not knowing why Romantica refused the invitation to join his team, Romantica told Donnet that she had joined a team in the beta class and the team leader had helped her a lot in practice to improve her skills. Donnet always hated commoners, considering them insects, while Romantica was someone from a common family. Hearing this, Donnet became very upset but tried to maintain composure by saying that Romantica was speaking unclearly. However, Romantica confirmed that everything she said was true, so Donnet felt remorseful and said that he would never invite her to join the team again. Meanwhile, Romantica revealed that her team planned to advance to the Alpha class, so Donnet vowed to destroy her team without leaving a single one. Before leaving, Romantica also thanked Donnet for the meal, which made him even angry. It turns out that in the past, Donnet's father had been treated unfairly by commoners, and after witnessing his father's death, he grew to hate them even more. This grudge had burned within him, and Donnet would never forgive them. The next morning, the upgrade level match for their Desire group took place within the imaginary world, and they managed to defeat many opponents in the preliminary rounds. continuously climbing the ranks. Thanks to these preliminary rounds, Desire's team cooperation skills improved rapidly, and soon after, they reached the top rank in the competition. Desire also thought that from now on, it was a real war. The teacher also seemed very pleased because the Desire team was performing well, but he also hoped that Desire should be careful because now there would be many people targeting his team. Meanwhile, the professor from the Alpha class was angry when Desire's team entered the top position, and since then, he had never accepted anyone from outside the Alpha class. Therefore, he ordered the Blue Moon team from the Alpha class to find a way to stop Desire from being able to give a single title to their team. He knew beforehand that Aces had fought Desire in the entrance competition, and when he knew that Aces could defeat Desire, he chose her as the leader of the Blue Moon team while ordering Aces to ensure victory for the Alpha class. Aces herself never forgot her defeat at the hands of Desire before. It was also the first time Aces had lost on the battlefield, so Aces vowed that this time she would try hard to defeat Desire as soon as she left the professor's room. Later, Aces met with the red-haired teenager along with Donnet, as Donnet had business with Romantica, so he wanted to settle the matter with her. Meanwhile, Payan also wanted to find Pram to settle the score from the previous battle with Desire. Although knowing that personal grudges could fully affect the team's chances of winning, Aces' leader allowed them to act freely because Aces herself also wanted to find Desire to defeat him. Today, Desire team continued to diligently train in preparation for the official stage, and he brought them both to the school library. There, Desire took out a stack of history books for them to study, and when Romantica felt confused, Desire explained that the official stage would take place in the imaginary world prepared by the school. There, many historical events would be reconstructed, and if they could stop these events, the imaginary world would be completed. Initially, Romantica and Pram were very surprised because they thought they had to study all the books in the library, but Desire, as a time traveler, knew exactly what would happen in the imaginary world, so he only chose a few necessary books. While Desire was busy reading books, Romantica and Pram were not focused at all. It turns out, Romantica remembered that Pram had previously gone with Desire, so she was very curious about where they went and what they did. Although Pram didn't want to reveal it, Romantica still wanted him to tell everything, and when they were arguing, the book suddenly flew and hit Desire's head, making him smile meaningfully and reminding them to focus on reading the books. At that moment, Aces entered the library and headed to where Desire was. Initially, Aces only looked at Desire with intensity, which made two members of his team very confused. Then, Aces greeted Desire after 2 months of not meeting. Desire knew that Aces had joined the strongest team in the school called Blue Moon, and Desire also suspected that his purpose for coming here was to declare war. Upon hearing it, Aces was somewhat surprised that Desire understood him so well, and he also apologized to Desire for previously showing disdain towards him. However, this time Aces would use all his abilities to destroy Desire on the battlefield. On Desire's side, he was very pleased with Aces' determination because in this way, defeating Aces was a way to ignite the fire of determination within Aces so that he would become stronger in the future, and Desire also looked forward to the time when he could fight alongside Aces. A few days later, the official stage began, and the location of the match was in an arena consisting of 4 teleportation gates. Here, the journalists continuously interviewed the jury members about the competition, while Desire's team prepared to enter the decisive match. Desire knew that this competition would be very tight because his team's opponents were the strongest. However, Romantica and Pram were very cheerful and showed no signs of worry. When the 3 of them were ready, they stepped into the arena with cheers from the crowd surrounding them. The students in the Alpha class had been divided into several teams, and Desire's team would depart alongside Aces' Blue Moon team. Upon seeing Desire, a member of the Blue Moon team showed a condescending attitude. He considered that an ordinary person like Desire did not deserve attention. However, for people like Donnet and Person, this was an opportunity to take revenge against the members of Desire's team. According to the Academy's rules, the 9 people who stood at the top of the competition would earn the title of single ranker. Desire understood that to earn this title, his team had to defeat everyone here or complete the Shadow World. Soon after, the participants stepped through the teleportation portal to enter the Shadow World. Before entering, Desire encouraged everyone to stay calm because they could do it. After passing through the portal, Desire was transported to a forest. At the same time, the Academy announced over the loudspeakers that the participants' starting positions were determined randomly. Desire was about to search for his 2 teammates when he was suddenly attacked. It turned out that a Blue Moon member had luckily found Desire alone in this forest. When he launched an ice attack against Desire, Desire immediately used fire magic to defend himself. Seeing that Desire was difficult to defeat, he had to use 2 types of water element magic to attack simultaneously. Although Desire was pushed back, he still considered that the Alpha class students only used flashy tricks. However, the earlier magic had surrounded Desire with ice, and he created a tornado to restrain Desire while continuing to attack him. Thinking he had won, he loudly allowed Desire to say his last words. However, Desire realized that he couldn't control the magic to strike vital parts of his body, which made him angry. Moreover, his magic was destroyed by Desire in the blink of an eye with reversal magic. Desire told him about the consequences of underestimating an opponent on the battlefield. Desire demonstrated his ice magic again and told him to watch carefully and remember it. However, his opponent considered this just ordinary magic that couldn't defeat him. As a result, Desire's ice shattered into small pieces that surrounded his opponent, freezing him in place and knocking him out of the shadow world. At that moment, the committee announced that the first participant had been eliminated. Meanwhile, a young man from the Alpha class was transported to the middle of a meadow. He decided to enjoy the gentle breeze before the competition began, but the strong wind from Romantica blew him away. It turned out that on the way to find Desire, 2 members of her team had easily defeated other opponents. Romantica had magic that could detect enemies around her, so she found 3 opponents from the Alpha class nearby. As Romantica was about to launch her magic attack, 2 of them approached her. It turns out that Romantica's search magic has a weakness: the user's position will be detected. They mocked that the beta class only consists of trash who don't know how to use magic, and now they will show the class difference between Romantica and Pram. Hearing that, Romantica thought that the Alpha class was indeed full of overconfident people. Pram suddenly attacked, but the opponent wielding a large sword quickly parried his strike. After an intense initial fight, both sides were ready to battle. Initially, Pram planned to use his swordsmanship to defeat the opponent with the large sword, but the opponent's ally used magic to attack from behind. Pram had to find a way to dodge, so he used his speed to run around them, causing the two to become very confused. The one wielding the large sword decided to throw smoke to assist his ally in casting magic, but Romantica quickly located the girl's position and struck her with a wind attack. At the same time, she mocked that the two were foolish for using magic that revealed their positions. Now, only the person with the large sword was left, and he didn't know what to do. Romantica then used her final wind move, knocking him out of the competition. This first victory made the pair very happy, and Romantica realized that Desire had been hiding in the bushes, observing all along. Seeing his teammates in the group improve significantly, Desire felt very satisfied. Only Romantica was slightly upset because her magic was easily destroyed by Desire again. Moreover, the young man patted Romantica's head like one would pet a dog, which made her very angry. However, the ranking competition was not yet over, so they knew this was not the time to have fun. The weak participants began to lose to the stronger groups, and soon the competition would only leave a few participants. Desire's main goal was to help his group ascend to the Alpha class. To do that, they had to complete the Shadow World. Desire thought this way was rather difficult, so an easier way was to be among the last 9 survivors. Although knowing that there were still many other strong groups in this competition and the journey to the single ranker title was very difficult, Pram was confident that the 3 people in their group could do it. At this moment, the Shadow World was suddenly drenched by heavy rain, so they had to take shelter under a tree, waiting for the rain to stop so they could continue their journey. Romantica recalled that initially she didn't even dare to think about entering the Alpha class. If at that time she believed Dona's words, who knows what would have happened now. Seeing Romantica worried, Desire kept encouraging her that now she and Pram had become much stronger. Romantica also admitted that Desire was truly a good person. Although on the outside she was still angry at Desire, she felt very happy to have joined his group. At this moment, the clock tower bell rang, surprising the participants. According to Desire, this was the clock tower event mentioned in the history books, and Desire and his friends had studied about this event. The Prius clock tower is a high-level magical device that, each time it emits energy into the sky, the Shadow World produces many demons. The system then announced that the participants' survival mission had officially begun. They had to find a way to survive the demon attacks created by the clock tower. The Evil Academy instructors believed that the beta class would not survive, and Professor Bryjet was also very worried about whether Desire's group could survive this competition or not. Returning to Desire's group, they smelled a terrible stench and saw a giant rat emerge from the ground. Both were too scared and clung to Desire. Moreover, the rat called its entire army, forcing the 3 to flee in panic. Desire knew that these rat hordes were a type of demon that primarily fed on human blood, and regular attacks like Romantica's would not have much effect on them. Seeing a wall ahead, Romantica thought she couldn't jump over it on her own, but the thought of becoming prey to the rats forced her to jump, though she stumbled as the rats were very close. Desire decided to leave some of his blood, and when the lead rat appeared to bite, Romantica quickly used the wind to shoot it. However, the rat had high magic resistance, so the attack was not enough to defeat it. Desire immediately asked everyone to retreat temporarily to find a way to deal with it, but he was very surprised to see Pram running straight into the horde of rats. Aze's group was also being attacked by the rats, causing one of them to be thrown. Gabriel's group was surrounded by rats without an escape route, so he decided to use hellfire to burn them and clear a path for everyone. The weaker groups began to be eliminated by the rat horde. Pram and Desire were trying to find the leader of the rat swarm to kill it because he believed the rat had been badly injured after being hit by Romantica's wind attack outside. On the other hand, Desire thought Pram was being attacked by the rats, so he was very panicked and couldn't use magic to attack the rats as it would affect Pram. Unexpectedly, Pram managed to defeat the rat horde alone and stab the leader of the rat swarm, killing it instantly. The system immediately announced that the rat had been defeated, but Pram was now exhausted, so Desire brought him near a tree to rest. After asking Romantica to take care of Pram, Desire felt deeply regretful. Just because of a little excitement watching Pram's progress with Romantica, Desire had become too careless, leading Pram to experience such a situation. Desire then recalled his purpose for being here, which was to ensure that in the future none of his teammates would lose their lives. When Desire returned, Pram had just woken up, so he immediately reminded everyone to move quickly because Desire had found the final destination of this competition, the Prius Clock Tower. Desire also reminded himself not to make any more mistakes. The rain outside was getting heavier, and Aze's team soon arrived in front of the clock tower. They knew that by stopping the clock in the tower, the shadow world would end. However, at that moment, a lot of wind magic came from nowhere, forcing Azes to use an ice wall for defense, and anyone who couldn't dodge was immediately eliminated from the competition. At this moment, Azes realized the danger from Desire's team members. Meanwhile, Desire and his two comrades were already at the clock tower, ready to fight with Azes. 3 members of Azes' team ran towards the tower door, but under the relentless attacks of Romantica, Donnet, and Parkin, they could only defend and couldn't get close. Even Azes had difficulty because Romantica's magic was coming from all directions. Desire's team knew they couldn't stop Azes, so they turned to attack other teams to bring all the opponents to the clock tower. Seeing Romantica still hesitant about the plan, Desire assured her to trust him. Romantica then used her magic to eliminate several other opponents, while Desire used countdown magic on the clock tower while waiting for Azes to arrive. When Azes' team opened the door, they were surprised to find the other teams fighting inside. Gabriel accused Azes' team of using underhanded tactics to ambush the other teams. Although Azes was innocent, he couldn't refute Gabriel's accusation because if he blamed a beta-class wizard, no one would believe him. Realizing this was Desire's trick, Azes didn't want to explain much and immediately advanced to fight Gabriel. Initially, Gabriel used Hellfire magic to burn Azes, but Azes quickly circled Gabriel's team and easily defeated 2 of his team members. Realizing Azes was too strong, Gabriel asked for help from the other teams. However, no matter how many people attacked Azes, he could still face them all alone. Desire knew that the plan to use Azes to eliminate other participants had failed because there had been no notification from the system about any eliminated participants. The sound of Azes' footsteps growing closer made them anxious. Shortly thereafter, Azes and 2 of her companions appeared in front of Desire and informed him that she was merely using her magic to control all the other participants. Azes never allowed Desire's team to be among the last remaining group. If Desire wanted to earn the title of single ranker, he had to prove it with his abilities. After saying this, Azes used ice magic to transport herself and Desire to the upper floor, while a battle among the other 4 would take place on the lower floor. Donnet was pleased because it was time to settle his score with Romantica. Although Desire remained seated quietly, Azes knew that he was not easy to defeat. Desire used his magic to control the stones on the ground to attack Azes, but she froze the attack with her ice magic. At this moment, Azes realized that the room had been filled with a countdown spell beforehand. Desire had destroyed an ice block to receive the next attack from below by Pram, along with Person, who was fighting evenly. However, Person suddenly switched to using a headbutt attack, pushing Pram back. Of course, Pram showed no fear towards someone as low as Person, using his speed and sword skills to demonstrate the difference in their levels. Despite launching numerous sword attacks, Person couldn't touch Pram. He realized that Pram had completely changed and was no longer weak as he had been in their last training. Now, Pram even used his legs to attack, making Person feel utterly hopeless. Person couldn't understand how Pram had become so strong in such a short time, but Pram did not answer and instead stuck out his tongue, mocking Person and making him unbearably angry. Unlike Pram, Romantica faced many difficulties while fighting Donnet. After using continuous attack magic, Romantica was nearly out of mana. Fortunately, at that moment, Azes' ice block had shattered, obstructing Donnet's view. Seizing this opportunity, Romantica attacked Donnet, catching him off guard, and her long-range wind magic forced Donnet to struggle to defend himself. Donnet knew that if he fought in this situation, he would be at a disadvantage, so he used his necklace to dispel the mist, restoring the surroundings to their original state. After that, he immediately attacked Romantica with his sword, causing her great difficulty because she was a long-range mage and not strong enough for close combat with a warrior like Donnet. At that moment, Romantica realized that Donnet was wearing the artifact necklace she had once wanted to give him. According to Donnet, this item could not be given to commoners like Romantica, but she believed that both commoners and nobles were just ordinary humans, no different from each other. Hearing this, Donnet was furious, recalling his father's old grudge, and said that nobles were supreme and different from the despicable commoners. After speaking, he used the ring on his hand to create fire around Romantica. Although Romantica managed to withstand Donnet's next attack, she was still thrown against the wall. Seeing Romantica injured, Pram left his fight to protect her. Donnet then ordered Person to stand outside and let him finish off the two of them alone because Donnet deeply hated commoners and would kill them all without exception. Currently, Romantica is recovering her mana, so she asks Pram to buy her some time. Pram then advances with his sword to fight Donnet. Using magic from his amulet, Donnet manages to trap Pram in stone and intends to eliminate Romantica first. However, Pram escapes just in time and uses his sword to cut Donnet's amulet, injuring Donnet's face. Despite being at a disadvantage, Donnet refuses to let Person join the fight. On the other hand, Romantica realizes that Donnet's target is her life, and with her mana almost depleted, she feels like a burden to Pram. However, Pram refuses because he wants all three team members to achieve the single rank or title without anyone missing. After all, Desire is the one who inspired the team to achieve their current success. Hearing this, Romantica regains her fighting spirit to continue battling alongside Pram. Meanwhile, Desire is still fighting on the upper floor. Since this time there is no finish line like in the entrance exam, they will fight to the end until one of them is eliminated. With his reverse magic, Desire gradually destroys all the attacks launched by Azes. Seeing that she cannot get close to Desire, Azes uses ice magic to attack from a distance. Although ice magic is Azes' specialty, Desire destroys it with just a flick of his fingers. Desire can use fire magic like Gabriel to attack, forcing Azes to keep moving to dodge. After exchanging blows, Azes seems to be losing compared to Desire, so she has to fight more seriously. Azes does not understand how Desire can overpower her, despite her having the advantage in magic and speed. Struggling hard, Desire remains calm and composed as if nothing is happening. When Azes sees Desire using a fireball to attack, she dodges while looking for a way to approach Desire. As Azes gets closer, Desire switches to body enhancement magic for close combat with Azes. Azes is very surprised because she did not expect Desire to use ordinary weapons to counter her sword attacks. However, the strength of a demon sword master within Azes pushes Desire back to the wall. Azes then jumps and launches multiple sword attacks to defeat Desire. Azes realizes that even though she is stronger than Desire, she cannot land a hit on him. Desire then asks Azes if she enjoys fighting like this because, according to his memories, Azes always seems gloomy in the future. If Azes could fight stronger opponents, she might not feel bored. Azes admits that she wants to defeat Desire right now, so Desire hopes Azes will use her full strength. Shortly after, Azes unleashes a powerful spell called Winter Palace, and the surrounding space instantly freezes. Azes sits in place and continues to attack Desire with ice magic. Azes doesn't stop there, she also summons multiple magic circles to attack Desire. Although Desire cannot destroy the palace, he can still avoid the attacks from Azes' magic circles. Desire acknowledges that for someone Azes' age to cast such high-level magic is very impressive. However, it is still not enough to trouble Desire, so he quickly destroys all of Azes' magic circles. Desire says that Azes' magic cannot touch him and also realizes that fighting like this is not a good way. Therefore, Azes withdraws her magic to end the Winter Palace and then channels all her magical power into her sword. Meanwhile, Donnet struggles to swing his sword but cannot defeat Pram. He is kicked and thrown against the wall by Pram. Seeing that he cannot fight alone, Donnet finally asks Person for help. Donnet says that he wants to eliminate these commoners as quickly as possible, so Person agrees to help him. Person raises his sword and throws it at Pram, but Pram manages to deflect it. Donnet runs towards Romantica from behind while Person attacks from the front, creating a dangerous situation. In this critical moment, Romantica remembers Desire and tells Pram to duck, then uses two wind attacks simultaneously to repel them. Meanwhile, Azes transformed her sword into a magic sword. Desire knew this was the ultimate technique of a demon sword expert, a skill that Desire believed would take 5 years to master. However, Azes had advanced rapidly with a determination to defeat Desire by any means. With the magic sword in her hand, Azes could deflect Desire's flying stone attacks, and even all of Desire's fire attacks could be easily pushed back. Desire realized he couldn't use his technique anymore, so Azes attacked with high speed, cutting Desire's dagger in two and placing her sword at Desire's neck. Azes felt triumphant, thinking she had won, but then realized that Desire had used his technique on the clock tower, severing the tower's magic, thus preventing it from summoning demons. Thus, the official end of the Academy's rank promotion competition was announced, declaring Desire as the winner who completed the competition's task. Professor Bridget was very pleased, while the fat Parkman was furious. He threw his cane to the ground, stating that he did not accept the results. In the subsequent meeting, he accused Professor Bridget of cheating to help Desire win, arguing that no commoner could defeat a demon sword expert and complete the task easily. However, all the Academy's instructors had observed the students' battles through cameras and saw no cheating. They advised Parkman to stop accusing others without evidence in front of the headmaster. After that, the headmaster announced the 9 students who earned single-rank titles, stating that Parkman's accusations were baseless. After the competition, Desire met Aces to talk. Desire admitted that initially, he wanted to make the Alpha class compete against each other to eliminate many opponents. However, Aces saw through his plan and it didn't work. So, Desire decided to move on to the next objective, which was completing the Shadow World. Upon reaching the clock tower, Desire tried to analyze its magical structure, but there wasn't enough time. Luckily, thanks to the battle with Aces, he finally had the chance to analyze the tower. It was acknowledged that he lost to Desire after the second test, but according to Desire, the power difference between me and him wasn't too great. If at that time Aces' sword was faster than Desire's moves, then I would have logged out before completing the virtual world. At this moment, 2 team members appeared and said that if Desire lost, they would fight in my place. At the same time, they also threatened Aces because they thought Desire was being bullied by her. Knowing that the 2 had fought very well, Desire patted their heads in praise, while Aces had to return to the professor to hear reprimands after losing to Desire. Before leaving, she asked Desire if she could train with his team in the future. Of course, Romantica disagreed, but Desire was very open-minded. He said that Aces could come to the training grounds every morning and after daily study hours. Upon hearing this, Aces smiled for the first time, surprising Desire. Now, my team was going to the professor because she was waiting. When they arrived, Romantica asked the professor about the contest results, but before announcing them, she used magic to bring out a very luxurious cake, and Romantica immediately realized it was a cake made by a famous shop in the city. The professor congratulated the 3 students who earned single-rank titles and advanced to the Alpha level. Romantica and Pram were very happy and celebrated their victory together. Even the professor was pleased because she made the old man accept reality with an angry face. Seeing Desire's entire team enjoying their meal, the professor suddenly remembered the past when Desire was a very diligent student whom she trained. She had taught Desire magic with great affection, like a mother to her child, so now, seeing Desire grow up, she felt very happy. But over the weekend, the 3 members of Desire's team went on an outing together. Even though they would start studying at the Alpha level the next day, they had no worries. So Desire was happy to give his teammates a chance to have fun today because starting tomorrow, the team would surely be very busy. They went to a clothing store to pick out clothes, and when discussing fashion, Romantica was the most enthusiastic. However, Desire showed no emotion when commenting on Romantica's clothes, which made her very upset. On the other hand, Desire praised Pram for fitting the fashion well, making Romantica feel jealous. Additionally, Pram and Romantica also helped Desire choose a tie. After getting tired of shopping, they went to the mall and suddenly Aces was also there, making Desire very surprised. He realized that Aces had changed a lot, no longer as cold as before. So, Desire immediately invited her to join the team for some fun. Aces also felt it was time to take revenge on Desire in the ranking contest, so she agreed to go along with the team. Meanwhile, Pram and Romantica were playing with dolls at the store, and when they managed to get a big teddy bear, they saw Desire walking with Aces. Unlike before, this time Aces showed a very good rapport with Desire's team, which made Pram very happy to invite Aces to play together with everyone. Seeing this, Desire immediately invited the whole team to play a snowball game. Desire paired with Romantica, while Aces paired with Pram because their opponents were the top knight pair in the academy. So, Desire leaned close to Romantica, reminding her to be careful of Pram. He also showed a very serious attitude, wanting to defeat Desire and Romantica. The child then made a very clever kick that forced Desire to focus intensely to catch it, while Romantica switched to using magic, making the snowball fly straight to the goal. Desire stopped it, saying that was cheating. However, Aces was also not hesitant to use magic, so she immediately threw a ball at Desire. When the ball came back, Aces blocked it with an ice wall, causing the ball to bounce back toward Desire's goal. Watching everyone fight each other fiercely made Desire long for a future where they would fight together as humanity's best warriors. Desire was thinking of praising Romantica but had to remind her to focus, and as Aces was preparing to score a goal, Desire used a mathematical trick to penetrate her defense and score a counter goal. During this outing, Aces thanked Desire for making her feel more comfortable, and from now on, they would help each other in studying and training in the Alpha class. The next morning, Romantica and Pram were amazed by the luxurious facilities in the Alpha class, and after various efforts, their hard work paid off. At this point, they had reaped the rewards. However, before starting the lesson, Desire reminded everyone to go through the room for this morning's practice. Aziz had also arrived very early to train with Desire's team. After warming up, Aziz switched to sword training with Pram because Aziz's swordsmanship was extraordinary. So, Desire immediately prepared training to improve the accuracy of his magic as before, where Aziz also had to practice aiming the ball at the target. When he saw Aziz still not doing well in this part, he asked Romantica to give her some pointers. Every challenge given by Desire was successfully overcome by Romantica, making her appear very confident. After the first training session with Desire, Aziz noticed that he was a very observant person because Desire could see everyone's weaknesses to provide the right training. Desire then said goodbye to Aziz and promised to meet her here after study hours. Meanwhile, Romantica collapsed weakly because she had been instructed by Desire since the morning. He wanted the whole team to become stronger as quickly as possible because the battle would soon come. But with Desire's guidance, they all felt confident and ready to face this battle. Desire's first meeting in the Alpha class was about the battle between humans and the Shadow World. According to Professor Bridget, this disaster occurred once every year but was almost always successfully subdued by humans. Every time the Shadow World was subdued, humans would bring home magical gems containing great magical power. They would then apply the gem processing techniques at a place called the Magic Tower, aiming to create modern magical items for human life today. The professor's question was who discovered the technique of using magic stones. When Romantica was asleep, the professor called her to answer the question, and she had to be reminded by Desire to answer that the person was Zod, the owner of the Magic Tower. After the lesson, Desire and his team went to Professor Bridget's place. She realized that her team was in the top single ranks in the recent promotion exams, and today Desire wanted to ask the professor for a very important task. After arriving at the professor's office, he handed a piece of paper to the professor. It was an assignment letter to protect the Magic Tower branch. According to Desire, the Academy had the right to assign tasks to the team, so Desire wanted the professor to assign this task to his team. The professor immediately refused because Desire had nothing to do with this task, but Desire knew that the Magic Tower was currently guarded by a stone called the Fountain of the Goddess, and he promptly revealed to the professor that in a few hours, thieves would come to steal the stone. The culprits were a dangerous criminal organization called AT. The professor did not believe that Desire knew so many important things, and Desire pleaded with the professor to reassign this task to his team because if it was delayed, he feared the stone would be stolen. That night, the owner of the Magic Tower, Rot, received news that the Magic Tower was under attack. He was amazed at how Desire could accurately predict this. At that time, Desire disguised himself as an ordinary citizen to confront the thieves. Around the tower, unexpectedly, you encountered the group leader named Kraken, and Desire apologized to Kraken with a very pitiful appearance. Initially, Kraken also accepted Desire's apology and politely helped him stand up, but after learning that Desire was a despicable man and starving, he began mocking him. He even threw Desire's bread to the ground and stepped on it in front of him, while ordering Desire to walk very carefully afterward. Although Kraken's subordinates wanted to eliminate Desire, he ordered them to leave him alone. Now, Kraken and his group headed to the tower to steal the magical stone, unaware that they had fallen into Desire's trap. Before attacking the tower, Kraken had put on a mask and summoned hundreds of people just to steal the treasure guarded by the tower. They used magic to attack the tower en masse, but their magical attacks couldn't penetrate the strong defenses. So, Kraken ordered his subordinates to use physical weapons to cause more damage. He was confident that magic would not be able to protect them, and after several minutes of continuous attacks, the tower's defenses finally crumbled. When the gates opened, Kraken led his men to storm into the tower, but the tower's guards had gathered to confront them. As the UD attacked, both sides switched to using swords and weapons. Although the tower's guards were ordinary troops, they had a way of defending themselves that surprised Kraken. Since time was running out, Kraken and some of his subordinates rushed to the storage room of the magical stone, which was protected by a magic shield. They used magic to weaken this shield, and when his subordinates were too weak, Kraken himself got involved. He broke through the shield and the box containing the magical stone, but at the same time, Pram appeared and ordered them to surrender. After obtaining the stone, Kraken asked Pram why he knew about it, but Pram did not answer and ordered his subordinates to kill him. One of them attacked Pram with fire magic, but Pram managed to dodge. Kraken realized that his subordinates consisted of 2 knights and 4 magicians. Although their rank was equal to Romantica, their magic was low. Pram fought alone against them, but Kraken summoned quicksand to restrain Pram. Then, he used magic to create a large clump and attack Pram, calling him inexperienced. He even created chains to pull him into the wall he had prepared earlier. Although his subordinates attacked Pram together, Romantica managed to destroy their magic with wind magic and incapacitated several guards who stood in their way. After realizing that his magic power was not enough to penetrate the armor layer, the number of magic circles and output speed was quite impressive, showing that this might be a magic expert. Kraken then ordered his subordinates to focus on protecting him, and by any means, he had to bring the stone out of this place. Seeing Kraken trying to escape, Pram immediately attacked and defeated 2 of his subordinates who were protecting him. Although only 1 of his subordinates was left, he still used his life to stop Pram. Meanwhile, Kraken continued to use earth magic to try to destroy Pram. Pram was forced to retreat to avoid the attack, and even Kraken sacrificed his last subordinate just to protect himself from Pram's attack. Knowing that Kraken was a major criminal, Pram was determined to stop him to protect the people. However, the earth magic used by Kraken was too disruptive, so Pram could not get close to him again. Kraken was able to use the stone to protect his body, making Pram powerless even though he used super speed to keep charging with attacks. When he saw Romantica attacking, he retaliated precisely to where she was hiding. Kraken asked Pram and Romantica how they knew his plan. If they didn't tell, he would drive them both away. However, Romantica not only refused to talk but also provoked Kraken's anger. This made him furious, and he threw a stone at Romantica, but Pram immediately saved her by releasing a magic attack toward Kraken. Kraken thought he had dodged everything, but suddenly a stone appeared and hit his mask. This time, Kraken was angry and attacked Romantica furiously, creating a lot of dust and giving Pram a chance to get closer. However, Pram's sword was caught by him, and Pram had to struggle to get it back. Seeing Kraken ready to use high-level magic, he created a big explosion that destroyed the room. Fortunately, Pram and Romantica managed to dodge without injury. Both had to admit that Kraken was too strong, and this time they were completely defeated. Therefore, Pram decided to ask Desire to train him even more. Meanwhile, Kraken managed to escape to the lower floor of the Devil's Tower, feeling satisfied for having successfully stolen the magic stone. However, Desire appeared at the end of the tunnel, demanding the return of the bread Kraken had stolen earlier. Desire informed Kraken that he had used magic to track him. Hearing this, Kraken recalled how Desire had previously used his position to monitor him, and he couldn't believe that his plan had been figured out by a child like Desire. Enraged, Kraken unleashed high-level magic toward Desire, but all the stones launched at him were shattered instantly by Desire's mathematical resistance. Desire insisted that Kraken return the treasure he had just stolen, but Donut did not respond and continued attacking Desire with magic in an attempt to escape. Desire reiterated that no matter what magic Kraken used, it would be futile. This time, Kraken realized that all his magic had been destroyed by Desire's mathematical resistance, so he became extremely angry and attacked Desire with all his might, but the result was the same as before. Unable to fight Desire any longer, Kraken threatened to destroy the magic stone if Desire approached. However, Desire was undeterred and challenged Kraken to destroy the stone now. After saying this, Desire leapt directly towards Kraken and used magic to control gravity, bringing Kraken down and rendering him immobile. Kraken was shocked that such high-level magic was used by Desire in such a short time. Desire did not respond and pulled the magic stone out of Kraken's body, telling him that it was all over. At that moment, Kraken's mask began to shine and removed Desire's gravity spell, while Kraken transformed his body and donned armor that resembled a ghostly beast with increased speed and strength, making it impossible for Desire to respond in time. Kraken continuously kicked Desire against the wall. Although Desire managed to stab him with a fire arrow in his leg, Kraken quickly recovered and resumed the attack. Desire could only retreat to avoid him. After a while under pressure, Desire realized he would lose if he continued fighting like this, so he suddenly used a Hellfire attack on Kraken, although Kraken immediately struck from behind, sending Desire flying. In this form, Kraken could still use his magic as usual, with incredible speed and strength, leaving Desire no time to use his tricks. The battle completely leaned towards Kraken, with Desire barely able to breathe due to the relentless attacks. Nevertheless, Desire kept trying to dodge the attacks and used his tricks to halt Kraken's assault. When Desire showed his resilience, Kraken decided to use his final attack. He created a sphere to draw all the stones around him. Although Desire tried to use his tricks, they couldn't destroy it. In an instant, Kraken created a giant hammer and threw it at Desire. Desire created several magic shields to withstand the hammer's attack. Thinking that Desire was surely defeated after that attack, Kraken laughed loudly but then realized that the hammer in his hand had turned to stone fragments. It turned out that in a short time, Desire had analyzed the hammer's structure to destroy it. Kraken's armor was also altered by Desire's tricks, causing him great pain. Now, with Kraken's armor disabled, Desire used the magical power of the goddess's tears to create a special fire attack. He used this trick to defeat Kraken, causing Kraken's armor to completely disappear after being defeated by Desire. Kraken wondered who Desire was, as he possessed such great power. However, Desire himself couldn't explain who he was, he only knew that his current mission was to protect his closest friends. The next day, Desire was taken by the professor to meet the owner of the magic tower. When they arrived, the professor warned him to speak respectfully to his master. As Desire saw him, he felt a deep longing, because his master was the strongest human magician and an irreplaceable friend to Desire in the future. After that, the two of them drank tea while talking, and Desire didn't even realize that they were about to play chess. Although there was only a little time before the professor had to attend a meeting, he still agreed to play with Desire. Desire then told him about a good friend who had once taught him to play chess, although Desire felt reluctant. However, they had created beautiful memories together. Hearing this story, the professor was eager to play with Desire to test his abilities. Desire felt very interested, so he challenged the professor to make a bet on the chess game. He said that if he lost, he would do whatever the winner asked. Although the professor doubted that a student like Desire would be able to fulfill his request, Desire thought for a moment, then proposed to borrow an unprocessed magic stone from the professor. He used the power of the stone to create fire, which greatly surprised Professor. Therefore, Professor agreed to play on the condition that if he won, Desire had to reveal his secret. Desire immediately agreed, promising to play his best. That night, Aziz had to attend a party at Parkman Castle because she lost to Desire in the ranking battle. She received a lot of negative rumors about herself from Party as she acknowledged her defeat in front of Desire without anything to refute. After hearing this, Parkman appeared very angry and blamed all the faults on Aziz. He intended to expel her from the Blue Moon team. After all that happened, she realized that Desire's team was where she truly belonged, so she had no hesitation in throwing the Blue Moon badge in front of Parkman, shocking him. From that moment on, Aziz would follow her heart's call. After the battle with Alter was over, everything returned to normal for Desire's team. He also congratulated everyone who had fought and successfully defended the Tower of Stone. However, he realized that he and Pram were still too weak to face Kraken, so from now on, both of them had to strive harder to become stronger. Pram wondered why Desire wanted to train them both to become stronger, so Desire revealed that the real movie world would emerge one day, and it would be very different from the simulated movie world created by the Academy. If they fail, Desire's team and humanity will be destroyed. So, no matter what happens, he will not let that dark future happen. Although there is no evidence supporting his claim, Romantica fully believes in his words because he has been right from the start, from the clock tower to the altar attacks. So Romantica wonders who Desire plans to reveal himself as a visitor from the future. But Romantica stops him because her initial promise was that she would reveal all of Desire's secrets. So no matter how many times Desire tries to open up, Romantica refuses to listen. Desire reminds everyone that the next training days will be very difficult, and from that day on, every day Desire trains Romantica. Meanwhile, Pram reunites with his father, so he also trains privately with him. After a few days of intense training, Pram's fighting abilities have significantly improved, and Romantica has also activated new powers with the help of Desire in the meantime. She also managed to convince Aziz to leave the Blue Moon team immediately. The next day, Aziz came to meet Desire personally to talk to him. Just because of a foot fault, Aziz accidentally knocked Desire to the ground, and she hoped that after joining Desire's team, she would get more help from him. As Desire revealed, the movie world has reappeared, so Heaven Academy immediately announced a call for students. This time, Romantica and her team members wore new uniforms. Aziz also joined them. For Desire, this is the moment he resumes his mission back to the past to save his comrades and fight to protect this world.